Well, good evening, Resilience family. We are here for another episode, and it's going to be an interesting one. I got Andre Bell here, guys. Caught him in action. Got him at the end of his long day, and I'm glad it worked out. We got him on the line though because he gonna drop some gems for us so we could get our financial worlds in order, Lord, in the line with our faith. Guys. So I hope you had a wonderful week, and I hope this is starting out to be a great week for you because it is. It is. We're gonna speak that. We're gonna speak that. I am going to have a wonderful, productive, blessed week. I want y'all to speak that too, Resilience family. And much ado, guys, we have this wonderful financial advisor, husband, man of God, a coach with us, Andre Bell. How are you doing?
Good evening, family. I am blessed and honored to be a part of the show, to be a part of this resilience family. Had a long day, but I'm here. I'm blessed to be able to have long days, to have days where I can serve God's people. Because at the end of the day, it may be tiring, but it's God's work, and He gives me the strength to continue to move on and to do exactly what He has called me to do. So I'm here, I'm alive, and I'm blessed, and I'm here to bless others with some information and some knowledge and wisdom that they can take and use to help build them generational wealth, because that's what it's about.
Yes, 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 yes. So, Andre, just tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What you do?
Okay, perfect. My name is Andre Bell. I am born and raised from Detroit, Michigan. I was raised in two single parent households, and we were always trying to find new ways, new creative ways to set our family apart. The Bible tells us to knock, and the door shall be open; to seek, and you shall find. And growing up, I didn't always have abundance in my family. I didn't come from wealth, but I knew that wasn't going to be the end of my story. And when you talk about resilience, I knew that what I came from wasn't what I wanted to provide for my family. It wasn't what I wanted to leave behind. It wasn't the systematic that I wanted to continue to run throughout our family legacy. So I had to go and seek the information and find out how to build wealth and how to build it not just for myself, but for my entire family. How can we do this thing together? And I'm so grateful to have active family members who believe in the vision and the dream that we talk about and are actually taking the actionable steps. Because listen, anyone can go and get rich on their own, but to actually build lasting generational wealth, it takes all of the members in our family. And that's what I want to make sure that if you don't take anything from this conversation, take the wherewithal of collective economics, the concept of not just having conversations with yourself about money, or not just thinking to yourself what you can do better, but to have those conversations with our family, with our children, with our parents. Because a lot of times we may not see the financial strain as children, but we can definitely feel it. And, it played a very active part of my life growing up. And that's why I was so earnest to go and find out more information around wealth, to make sure that I could give my children a better answer than I was given about money. We always trying to find ways to give the next generation pieces of the puzzle that we weren't provided with. Well, my parents gave me a lot about understanding myself, understanding other people, understanding different perspectives. But I needed to learn a different perspective when it came to my money, when it came to my pockets. And those are the answers that I sought after. And I'm grateful to be able to bring back to my family, to bring back to whatever family who was seeking after those same answers, because the answers are here. We just have to find practical ways to apply them into our lives.
That's
So
good.
I didn't really get to who I am, but I'm a former athlete. Played baseball for 20 years. Played Division I baseball, and I got an athletic and academic scholarship to play at that next level, where I studied at the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. I studied psychology, in
Mm,
sociology. So how people
right.
make decisions in their mind and how people interact in groups. That's what I studied. But like I said, I always had a passion to find out how to build wealth and how to help set my family aside. I've always been a hustler, but our problem as it's never been how to make money.
Right.
There's one thing about our people, we can always find a way to hustle and go and make a dollar. But someone told me that it's not about how much money you make in this life. It's about how much money you keep, how much money you grow,
Mm,
and how much money you protect and pass on to the next generation.
that's good. No, that got me thinking. That's good. That's that's good. So, how did you get connected with ELE Wealth Management? How did your financial journey trip over into that? And this is something that you're doing.
Uh, that's a great question. And I'll be honest, it was all about my faith. And I
Mm,
say that, and you're like, how do we get faith and finances together? Well, honestly, when I came back home, so after I graduated college, I moved
mhm,
away for a year and I started a business. I learned about investing, started making some money, and I lost some money because investing,
mm,
it is a game. It's a rich
yeah.
man's game. You can win
Mhm,
money, but it's just as easy to win as it is to lose. So
yeah.
I lost a little bit of money and I was trying to figure out, well, how can I make this truly work for myself? And I
Yeah.
came back home and it was actually my pastor who put me on this initiative. That it was a fix the finances initiative that he put me on. And he was like, I see that you are very active in the world of investing in finances, and I want you to help our congregation to be better at it. So I want you to go and meet this individual who I know who has been preaching the prophecy of building wealth and building wealth in the Black and African American communities. And I said, interesting. What's his name? He gave me his name. His name is Ellis Liddell. And he said, here's his number. Give him a call. So I called him and I got set up on his books. And we sat on the phone for 30, 45 minutes going back and forth about different ideas that we both thought could help our economy as African Americans, things that we thought we needed in our community, the ownership that we needed to take part in order to help change the narrative of our understanding of wealth and finances on a personal level as well as on a collective level. And by the end of our conversation, he said, I really wasn't looking to hire anyone, but I would really like to meet you in person. So can you
Wow.
come by my office tomorrow and bring your resume? Don't think you're sweet. I want to see what you're about as well. So sure
Wow.
enough, next day I came by and I brought my resume, and the entire time he's sitting there talking to me. He's like, I really wasn't in a position to hire someone, but I just see so much potential, so much passion in where you're coming from that if I don't hire you, I think I feel more regret in if I didn't.
Hmm.
So he was like, do you have any experiences with taxes?
Hmm.
And I said, no, I have no experience with taxes. However, my dad is an accountant. He's been dealing with taxes for the past 10 to 15 years. And I'm really good with numbers and I'm a fast learner. And he said, I don't know, but if you can prove yourself, we'll take you. And just like that, I walked into an interview, I walked into a job
Wow.
because I had faith in what I was doing, in the purpose and the path that God had me on. I believed in Him so strongly that I acted on it. I continuously followed in faith. And I was in between jobs, and He said, I'll hire you. He said, I'll pay you $1,000 a month. And I said, dude, I don't know how I can pay my bills with just $1,000 a month.
Right.
I'm being honest, but I made it work. I found alternative ways around what he was paying me because that wasn't the purpose. It was the exposure to the environment that I really needed to set myself apart in the industry where I was at the moment. And now, fast forward, I've been at the company for 3 years. I'm not still just making $1,000 a month. I have since then gotten promotion after promotion, and I'm so blessed to say that. I studied. He said this was the catch that I missed. He said, I'll give you $1,000 a month to do taxes and to study and pass these 3 exams in order to become a financial advisor. I'll give you a year. So I studied and I studied and I passed all 3 exams, and which then he gave me a promotion, which came with a pay raise. And I've been a financial advisor since last November. And I am just so blessed to be a part of the team at ELE Wealth Management, because we really do change lives. And we don't just change individual lives, we change the lives and the trajectory of legacies. And I'm
Yes.
just so grateful to be a part of something like this, because let's be honest, it's something that we haven't always had the answer or the
Yeah.
wherewithal to know how to get the answers. So to
Yeah.
be a part of, to bridge that gap between, I know what I need to be doing, but I don't know how to do it. To be able to fill in that void and be that how for families, for individuals, for schools, for whoever, for a part of our community. That's what I'm so passionate and loving the work that I do.
Wow. That is amazing faith, standing on God, how he connects and operates, you know. God always say God is the master orchestrator, the master conductor, of our lives. And it's real. And sometimes I be hating a little that it took me this long to get it, because I'm way older than you. And it's like, wow, why did I have these, like, this veil, over me or something? But such a time as this, I believe things align when it's supposed to align and when it's supposed to happen, and we're never late to the party, so to say, you know.
Amen.
Yes. So talk a little bit. I want to rewind a little bit. I want you to
Okay.
talk about a little bit of what you saw growing up. Just share a little bit of your childhood, if you may.
Okay. Will do. Um, so I grew up, like I said, in 2 single parent households. And my mom knew very early on in life that I was gifted. And I say that humbly, not
Hmm.
braggadociously, but
Oh yes,
she
no, we
knew that
know.
I would excel academically. I was the kid who was too smart for the classroom. I was gifted on the field athletically. So, I was I won't say way better, but I was better than the inner city sports, right? Because,
Mm,
like, we have
yeah.
those city leagues that like aren't the greatest. And I thrived. I was really good on the field, really good in the classroom. And my mom, she strives to challenge me, because she said I have this bright young black man who is being raised in a society. I need him to know who he is, who's around him, and where he is. So she started me off, and she gave me a huge pro-black start to life. I started off my education in Detroit Public Schools at Malcolm X Academy.
Mm.
And in second grade, I watched the entire movie series Roots in
Oh
second grade.
yes. I think that's
And
a rite of passage for Black folks.
yes,
Anyway.
it is. And I mean, I seen raw images of Emmett Till after he was murdered. So, and as a child, it frightened me, and it kind of scared me to see that even people doing the right thing can still be shown so much hate.
Mm.
And even in a world where we try and show so much love, it doesn't matter how much love you show, there's always someone who's not going to like you for it.
Right.
So she wanted to show me that early, and I'm grateful that I had that strong pro-black initially. And once she figured out that I was overachieving in Detroit, she moved me. I was in 4 different school districts throughout my upbringing. I started in
Mm.
Detroit, then I moved to Farmington Public Schools, and this is where I began to have that academic challenge.
Mm.
I was in the spelling bee. Now I was exposed to different levels in academics, right? In different communities. So from Farmington, I ended up going to Birmingham Public Schools, which was the upper echelon when you talk about social class, right? So now I went from Detroit, where I got homeless classmates, to
Right.
now I'm in Birmingham, where everyone's wearing the freshest clothes and the newest shoes. And I told you, I couldn't always ask for those things. So now I'm sticking out a little bit because I'm socially, I'm kind of awkward. So that kind of stirred me having some classroom issues because I was bright, so I'm getting all the answers right, but I'm bored. So
Wow.
I dealt with that growing up. And then middle
Wow.
school, I went to Southfield, where there was a blend of, social classes, where I still had some of the people who were on a lower social class, and some of them still were, having the upper social class. So I dealt with a little mixture of both. And that was really my upbringing. Like I said, I wouldn't say I seen the struggle, but I definitely felt the struggle, and that kind of urged me to start hustling early. Once I got to high school, I started finding new ways to make money. I was the snack man in high school. I and bought $40 worth of snacks from Costco and was selling them in school, trying to find different creative ways, because I can't go and ask my mom for an extra $100 to $200 to buy these shoes that I want. So I
Right.
had to kind of make that way for myself, and that kind of just started that hustling ambition inside of me. Got my first job at 14, 15 years old and never looked
Wow.
back. Started working 2 jobs. I was in college, and I didn't come home over the winter because I was working. I was a student athlete, so I was on the field, in class, and still found time to make a job, to have a job. So that's kind of where I come from, and how I made it happen early.
Wow. Well, I'm just sitting here thinking, you really remind me a lot of my late son. He was the same way. Oh, it's just uncanny. I'm just like, oh my God. I was like, he really reminds me of Josiah. He was the same one. He got bored. He got bored quick. Um, and us moms know, Andre, our kids. And I was the way with my son. He was gifted. And even though I knew it, the schools had to test it, of course, but he was a numbers guy too, you know. Um, so you just talking that just, I don't know, just brought a little piece of joy, to me. So thank you for that without you knowing that.
Aww.
um, but so many people struggle with fear and anxiety around money. What principles and even maybe biblical principles do you believe can help build that financial resilience, help them to push forward so they can start having that sound foundation, financially?
Um, that I mean, you hit the nail right on the head. And a lot of people, when you talk about finances, it can be such a fearful conversation, and it's not. Sometimes it's the fear of the lack of, but it's also just that fear of the unknown, right? I don't know where the next dollar is coming from. I don't know when my next paycheck is. And even when we know when the next paycheck is, I don't know if that next paycheck will sustain me until the next one. So all of that fear continues to grow, and it starts to fester inside of us, and it starts to take a toll on our mind, on our body. Like,
Yes.
it's actually been found and discovered that finances is the number one stressor in Americans. Not work, not relationships, but it's finances that are causing all of the stress. And the stress, it decays on our mind, on our body, and it takes a toll on our overall life experience. And to me personally, what I think can help us to turn that corner and to turn the page away from being fearful is having a sound plan. If you have a sound budget, you know what you're spending a month, you know that what I'm bringing home a month, and you know there's a difference in that amount of money. And when you are making the right decisions, the right conscious choices with your finances, you have nothing to fear. There, there shouldn't be fear when you have an active plan over your finances. But see, we don't plan until we get so far behind the 8 ball, when
There
we
you
get
go.
so tangled up with debt and expenses and new expenses, and we have 2-3 mouths to feed, and now the fear has gotten to its mountaintop, and we come to a financial advisor and we say, hey, I need help. You
Yeah.
needed help months ago. You needed
Years
help
ago.
years
Look.
ago, because the situation you're in now, it didn't just happen overnight. It's something that grew over time because you were making irresponsible decisions.
That's true. That's
So
true.
in my mind, it's just about planning out ahead of time, not after the fact, but planning out before we get our checks. What are we spending it on? But not what are we just spending it on? What are we investing? What are we saving our money? We should
Mm,
do that before. And see, this is the big difference. What we do when we get paid, we spend what we get and we save and invest what's left.
mm,
Oftentimes in our community, that's little to nothing.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What wealthy individuals do is the exact opposite. When they get paid, they save and invest first and they spend what's left.
Wow.
And that actionable switch is the reason why they are able to save and invest way more frequently, often, and in bigger lump sums than we often are, because we're trying to do that last. We're trying to save and
Mm,
invest after the fact, after we've spent most of our money, after we pay all our bills, after we go and treat ourselves. Now we want to go and try and put some money away for our future.
that's good. That's good. That's good. So we have a comment from a viewer. Hi, Dr. Janasha. She asks us, would you suggest to use the 50-30-20 rule as a guide?
I do like that guide. However, I like it in a different sense because the universal way that they have this 50-30-20 rule is 50 for your needs, 30 for your wants, and 20 for your saving and investing. I personally like if you switch the 30 and 20. So if you take 30% and you do that, you're save and invest your 30% because you can save 15% and invest 15%.
That's
And
good.
then you have 20% left for your needs. That's the
That's
way
good.
that I personally advise my clients on budgeting, because you're
That's
able to take that 30 and break it into two, save 15, you're building your emergency fund, 3 to 6 months of your expenses, and you're also investing 50% of your overall income.
That's good. So how do we get to the root of this, you think, Andre? Like, how do we get to the mindset of not being consumers and thinking long term?
Ah, that I mean, it's all mental. We make the unconscious or the conscious decision to save and invest for our future or not. See, but we have such a mindset that's wrapped around scarcity and just surviving that we can't
Mm,
even wrap
that's-
our mind around putting together a legacy plan to help our future.
yes.
We are so week to week, paycheck to paycheck. We don't see that long term vision, and we don't see the purpose and time and say we've been doing this week to week thing as a family, as a collective, for years, for generations, and we see the result that happens from it. So when do we make that conscious? Do we say in our minds this has not worked for us in the past? We have to do something different, because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over,
Oh my God.
but
Come on.
expecting a different result.
Man.
Well, I
Jesus.
say we're insane with our money because we're doing the same thing
Yeah.
over and over, generation to generation, and
Yeah.
we pass down the least amount of money.
Man.
The
That's
average
good.
African American family passes down $0.
Mm-hmm.
The average.
Jesus.
That's not to include the negative, the debt that we pass down generationally.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Wow. Guys, he is speaking some truth here. And you kind of stepping on my toes. I'm up here like, ouch, because that used to be me. Like, seriously. And not too long ago, sadly so I've been sharing what I've been learning with my daughters,
Mm,
because I didn't know much while I was raising them. Um, and I finally learned. So now, even though they're in their adulthood, I'm passing these gems on to them, and praying it will mold them and change their mindsets, and what they're doing as they're leading their individual lives.
amen.
This is good. Look, Jesus, look, I'm over here like, ouch, 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 but this is good and this is needed. This is
I,
fruitful.
I want to drop something else on you.
Hmm.
Just since we talked about African Americans, what we leave behind, and the average being zero, I found another shocking number that
Mm,
I just want to make sure that we all see why what we're talking about tonight is so important. Because this shocking number said in 2053,
mm,
which is, hold on, let me set the tone first. In 2045, we will undergo what will be known as the Great Wealth Transfer.
right.
In 2045, the Great Wealth Transfer, they estimate about $85 trillion to be changing hands from generation to generation.
Mm,
Okay. I just told you that our average pass down number is zero.
right.
So $85 trillion are expected to change hands in 2045. Well, just 8 years later, in 2053, the average African American net worth, the
Mm.
average African American net worth will be zero.
What?
The average. That means from the wealthiest of us
Oh my God.
to our brother on the street, the average net worth will be zero.
Wow.
So that tells us right there that we have to make a shift in something we're doing today.
Yes. 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 Oh my God. That man blowing emoji, that's what just happened. It's real. I mean, God, it's sadly, wow. Yeah, we got to do something to try to change these stats. Like, I need our people to wake up. I need us to not be afraid of each other, not thinking it's enough to go around or we can help each other or boost each other. As you were saying, think collectively, economic collectively, because we got to build.
And yeah, it's just, and it's unfortunate because, learning about psychology, it's not our fault. And, I don't blame us in the past of what we have done, but I do blame us what we are doing,
I agree.
because we are not the same individuals that were enslaved.
Right.
However, we have that same enslaved mindset, and we
Yes.
have not broken the generational curses and the chains and the shackles that have been held in our minds. Not
Yeah.
even physical shackles, but the mental shackles that we
Yeah.
consistently hold ourselves in. We have to break ourselves.
Yeah.
Then we can break our families, and then we can break communities. But it starts with us
It does.
on
Wow.
an individual level.
I agree. No, I agree. It's like time out for the excuses. Oh my God. Such a time as this. I always say this. I don't know. It's like every time I have a guest, it's like the right time. Because again, this is what I've been working on. I've been working on my financial life, like seriously. Um, because like you, I didn't have that upbringing either. I know now how I had some things. It wasn't a good way from my parents, unfortunately. Yet we weren't taught. I wasn't taught, the basis of finances. You're not taught. about you making a dollar, spending, or about investing, or about your credit score, or how money works, or learning some of these tax laws.
I'm sorry, Dawn.
Did you
Can
you
you
went out?
repeat what you were just saying?
Yeah, no worries, no
It's
worries. So I was just saying that I'm learning too, now, because I wasn't taught then either growing up, about the tax laws, about finances, period, about your credit score, investments, actually earning a dollar, and how to make the dollar grow, and even just the basics, just the savings, so these things, and like you saying, we learn just how to hustle, and do what's at hand, do what you need to do for now. We weren't taught to think long term.
hmm because
Yeah.
I mean, and think about it. Like they didn't want us to have that long term vision, and that's completely understandable. But it's up to us. We can no longer talk about what they wanted for us. It's about what we want for ourselves now. And since you mentioned it, let's talk about the banking system, okay?
Mm,
Because this is something that we don't talk about enough. The
I
fact
agree.
that the banks rob us of our interest.
Come on.
And the moment that we take $1,000 to the bank and we deposit it in their account, they then at that very moment they're able to lend out $10,000, 10
Wow.
times what you gave them. They're able to lend it out, and they go and make 6-7% on what we give them, and they give us back 0.01%. Not even one, not
Right.
even a quarter of a percent. They give us in return 0.01%.
Yeah.
And that's why I like to educate everyone on what's called a high yield savings account. High
Mm,
yield savings account will at least give you 3 to 4, some places even 5% interest on what you deposit. It's
wow.
time that we at least earn interest on the money that we save, because we've been saving it in these with these banks for years. And again, not
Right.
receiving any ROI, any return on our investment,
No
on our
return.
savings.
Yeah. 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 Oh my gosh. That is correct. That is so, so correct. So, with that being said, what practical first steps would you recommend for the listeners, who want to honor God with their finances, or just get back on the right track financially? Um, they probably overwhelmed with debt or lack of resources. So, what first practical steps can you recommend to them to take? Some action steps.
Hmm. Focus.
Mm,
It's an
that's
acronym.
good.
I created this acronym. It's called FOCUS. Faithfully organizing cash flow for unstoppable success. That's focus. And that is the first step that you must make. You have to faithfully organize your cash flow for unstoppable success,
That's
because cash flow is everything. Cash flow is the difference between your income and your expenses. If you have
mm-hmm.
no cash flow, you have no money to save or invest. And that's where you need to start, is figuring out how to either increase your income or reduce your expenses. But
Wow.
identifying how much money you have to save and or invest is the number one thing. You need to do a cash flow analysis of yourself, of your situation,
Oh,
and include tithing. A lot of us, we forget about tithing,
mm,
and that's why I put faithfully first, because when you faithfully organize your cash flow, you will not forget to tithe. It's a part of your
mm,
budget, or it should be. And
wow.
if you don't have a church home, or a ministry to tithe to, then you definitely need to make sure that you tithe to the God in you, because
Right.
God is in you. So at least give yourself 10%. You know, I understand
That's
if you don't have
good.
a church home, you don't have anywhere to give money to, at least give yourself that 10%. Put it towards the future. Give it to your kids and your grandkids. Store it away. But we can't keep ignoring the 10% of our tithe to God. And see, we always tie tithing to financials. Tithing
Right.
is your time, a 10% of your time, your efforts, your energy, what you had to go and do that day, that week. So that would be my huge first.
Wow. That was good. That's rich. Huh. As I wrote that down. Jesus. Wow.
That'll be in my book. And the
Well,
second step, I'll take it a step further. My my office, we're interviewing 100 new families. We sit down with you. The first session is completely free, and we can tell you a game plan that you can follow or you don't. But we'll at least give you the game plan that you can take back to your family or to yourself individually that you can implement. Whether you decide to invest or do anything with us after the fact is completely up to you. But at least meet with someone so that you can know, hey, am I on the right track, or what can I do differently? You can
right,
call me. I am here for
right.
my community. I would love to sit down and talk with you, whether we're on Zoom, and make something happen just to make sure that you can feel comfortable and more at ease with where you are in your financial journey. That's why we
Mm,
exist. It's not to just take your money, but I want you to feel comfortable in the decisions you make on a day-to-day basis, on a paycheck to paycheck basis, to make sure that your kids can benefit from what you're doing today.
that's good. That's good. Tell everybody how they could reach you, how they could contact you.
So there's two ways. You can go on our website at www.elewealth.com. There's a contact us page. You can leave us your name and we'll reach out to you. Or you can give our office a call. We're open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And that number is 248-356-6555. And I'll say that again. That's 248-356-6555. And again, the first session's on me. So at least come and just make sure that you have a good understanding of where you are and what you can do differently to make things change. Because
Mhm.
when you knew better, when you know better, you do better.
That part.
And
That's
it's
real.
what we don't know that's killing us. That's killing our generational wealth because we just don't know.
Right.
I see too many GoFundMe's and not enough life insurance applications.
Mm. Yes. Yes. I'm heavy on that. I had a few guests on here talking about that. Because we need it. We need it. Even if it's a simple
Amen.
term life policy. You need something. I
And there's nothing
totally
wrong
agree.
with a good term life policy. We actually work with one of the top carriers that issues one of the best term life policies, because not only is it a term life policy, but it's a term life policy that can be rolled into a whole life policy.
Mm.
So we have a 20-year term that you can roll it into a whole life once you get 10 years in. So it's
Mm-hmm.
great. You start off with a term premium, and eventually you can roll that into a whole life premium. And eventually, that's hopefully when we've made some more money. So we can add some more insurance and make sure you're covered and you're building generational wealth, because that is the easiest way to leave behind six figures.
That's
The
good.
easiest.
That is good. So give us last words you want us to know.
Last words. I'll leave you with this. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he.
Mm.
And I say that because being a big mental and psychology guy, the words that we say up here translate to the words that come out of here. And the words that come out of our mouth, they shape and alter our reality in the future. The words you
Mm,
speak literally are your future. And sometimes we are damning ourselves and we don't even know it.
that's good.
There are times that we say certain things and we know we don't mean it. But the
Mm,
moment you put it in the atmosphere, you have spoken that into your future. So we have
mm,
to control our words, our thoughts. And once we control our thoughts and our words, they will build habits in the right direction that we want to be in.
that's good.
But because wealth isn't just an asset, it's a mindset first. You
Mm,
become wealthy here, you have an abundant mind before you ever physically attract abundance.
that's good. Oh, that's good. That's good. Oh, that is good. That is really, really, really good. Wow. That is good. Sorry, I got all these thoughts going in my mind. I appreciate you. Thank you for this moment. And yeah, we're gonna have to have another part two to continue this because I want to educate us, y'all. You know? Um, like you saying, we have to do something now, you know. Um, we want you to be resilient in your finances. Seriously. For all. Yes, we are focused on us because we black folks and we love all y'all. Um, but we love us too. And
Mm.
somebody got to do it. We have to start walking in this thing, like you saying, the mindset, our words, to help with our actions, to keep going, to have that repetition, to have that legacy. Yes. Yes. Oh my God, Andre, I thank you. This was so rich. This was really good. This was really, really good. Thank you for your time as you ending your long day. I appreciate you because we don't get our time back. I am grateful for that. And man, you dropped some gems tonight. You dropped them. You dropped them, and I am grateful. Thank you so so much, so much.
Thank you
This
for
was
having
good.
me. I'm extremely grateful for us connecting and you hosting me on the show. I truly thank you because I just want to get this message out to as many of our people as we can. Because like I said, when you know better, you do better. And there's been often times where we keep saying, I'll put it off. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll fix
Mm,
things tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll do things differently. Tomorrow we'll do it different. But
yeah,
tomorrow comes and it's not promised.
right. This is
But
true.
yesterday already came, and today is now.
Yes.
So it's time to make changes for tomorrow
Yes.
in the hope of it coming, but
Yeah,
understanding that if tomorrow doesn't come, that I did everything today, the
that's real.
best of my abilities. So
That
I
is
thank you.
real.
I know I've had a long day, but this was well needed. It was needed for me as well because I told someone earlier. I said, "Yeah, I'm tired, but I'm serving God's people. I'm doing what
Amen.
God has me here to do, and He gives me the energy to keep rolling. You know,
Amen.
and I'm alive, and I'm gonna go and I'm gonna lay down and I'm gonna rest, and I can rest peacefully tonight because if God called me home tomorrow or
Yeah.
yesterday, I could say I served your people. I
Amen.
was doing what you sent me to do,
Amen.
God.
Amen.
So
That's
so
good.
thank you for allowing me to share my testimony, a little bit about who I am and how I can help
Yes.
our people, because that's what I'm here to do, is to help and to assist.
Yes. Thank you so much. My resilience family, I hope this was as good to you as it was to us. If you're listening now or listening later, thank you so much, guys. Please subscribe, please share, and pass it on, guys. And let's do now. Let's act now. I'm taking heed to this too, y'all, because I've been procrastinating a little bit too. Shame. I'm admitting, and I'm thankful. I'm thankful and grateful for such a time as this. So always, my resilience family, you all stay well, stay safe, and always, 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 guys. I want y'all to stay resilient. All right. Love you. Until next time, guys. Peace.